Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I thought it'd be interesting to compare the weight and balances of AK-47s to AR-15s. It's something that I've kind of mentioned, from time to time. Like you typically expect the AK to be a little bit heavier. You expect the AK-47 to be also a little bit more front heavy. But today I actually wanted to take some measurements and come up with some definitive numbers. So I've got two ARs here, right? One a quad rail with a fixed front sight, other one here with a free floating barrel. So here's the thing, you would expect that the free floating barrel would be lighter just because it's got more holes in the rail. However, when I put it on my scale here, okay, it comes in at 7 pounds, 3 ounces. Take the one with the quad rail, fixed front sight. It's a little harder to balance because of that quad rail. There it goes. There it goes. Okay, so 7 pounds, 2 ounces. So interesting thing is that this comes out about 1 ounce lighter. A question becomes, why would that? How's that possible? This is obviously thicker steel. Well, here's the interesting thing: when you compare the two rails side by side, you can see how much longer the one on the AR with the free floating barrel is. Right? It's almost not quite, but I'd say it's about 25% longer. All right, when you put them side by side. So I think that the length of that rail makes up for the fact that this has more, has basically more rail on it. Because obviously the quad rail is going to add more metal here, but it's also shorter. Now this is the, I believe this is the 8-inch rail. 8.5 inch. So that's an 8.5 inch rail. This is AR from Palmetto. Like the Colt M4s, the Smith & Wesson M4. That's gonna have a 6-inch rail. Okay, I have those as well. I just don't have them with me. So those guns are actually even lighter. Okay, so just because they have a shorter rail, when you hold it like this, it feels lighter. So it's counterintuitive almost. You would expect that this gun with the free floating barrel would be lighter, but it's not because the rail is typically longer. Now this is the 11-inch rail, right? Let me measure that out. No, 12-inch rail. There's the 12-inch rail. I got another one where the rail actually comes all the way up near the front over here, so that's obviously going to be even longer. It's got the same cutouts. So just something to keep in mind. Just because you've got a rail with lots of holes in it, right? Because this is very skeletonized. If the rail is longer, that's going to add weight pretty fast. It's also going to bring the balance forward. Okay, so let's compare that to the AK-47. AK-47. Okay, so that's coming in at 7 pounds, 7 ounces. Okay, 7 pounds, 7 ounces compared to 7 pounds, 3 ounces. So this is just 4 ounces heavier. Okay, so weight-wise, there's really not a lot of extra weight on this. It's only with the with the sling mount over here, Picatinny rail on the side over here. I've actually got grips here, so I can, because this rail gets hot in the summertime when you're shooting a lot. So I've got the little plastic grips over here. I got the red dot mounted on the dust cover. Only 4 ounces heavier. Okay, so that's very interesting. And it's not quite as heavy as you think. Or it's not quite that much heavier than you would think. Now, if you're comparing it to the old AKs that had the wooden stocks on them, I mean, yeah, I've never actually weighed those, but I'm sure the wood would actually add even more weight, but I don't know. But that's what this one is, okay? Romanian washer, and we said that it came in at 7 pounds, 7 ounces. Now, The next thing I want to consider is the balance point, right? The balance. And what I found is if you basically put your hand here and you see where the gun balances, the AR is basically going to balance right at the front of the ejection port, or right at the front, right on this line over here. Now, obviously, that's, you know, taking into consideration here the fact that I keep my front sight post pulled back a little bit. I mean, I do have this piece of metal here that's going to add a little bit of weight, you know. So these are all things that are going to change this. So that's balancing right at the front of the magazine well. That's what's at, you know, right at the front of the ejection port. That's where that's balancing. And by the way, all these stocks are about the same position, right? So the stock is really not a factor. You know, they all got similar stocks. Let's balance this one out. Now, this one, because it's got the Picatinny, the balance comes out a little bit further. So this balances out in slightly about 1 inch forward on this this ring over here that holds this quad rail in place. Okay, so the even though this came in 1 ounce lighter, okay, the balance shifts a little bit more forward, you know, because of the, you know, the quad rail and I guess the front sight post. But everything else the same. It's still got, you know, place to put mount the sling on. Red dots in about the same place. All right, so the red dots on both these ARs is centered over the magazine well over here. Okay, so the point of balance shifts about 1 inch forward on this. So now on the AK-47, let's look at the balance on this. The balance on this is right where the charging handle is, right? Right where the charging handle is, which puts that about 1 inch forward of the end of the magazine, where the magazine goes in over here. Okay, so it's 1 inch forward. They're all, you know, and that's with having a piston here, because obviously, you know, this has more weight up here with this piston that goes back and forth. You know, the red dot's mounted over the gas tube over here. So it came in 4 ounces heavier, and with the weight shifted forward about 1 inch in front of the magazine well over here. I'm going to measure this now 2 ways. What I'm going to do is, from the front of the gun, I'm going to measure back to the point of balance, right? So with this came back 18 inches. This one we said was about 1 inch forward, so this is 17 inches, right? So obviously we want this number to be as big as possible. And on the AK-47, and I'm going in front of all the way to the tip of the rifle. So whether it's got whether it's got a bird cage on it, or in this case the AK's got this slant over here, the muzzle brake. I'm going right to the tip of that. This comes all the way back to the charging handle. So this comes back to about 16 and a half. Okay, 16 and a half. So they're all about, as far as balance, they're all about the same place. Okay. Now, the place where I think the balance makes a big difference is when you measure it from the grip, right, where you grip this to the point of balance, right? Because you're holding the gun here. I think that's where it really matters the most. Where's your point of balance? So for this, the point of balance we said was right over here. So that I think is going to be the most important number. I'm gonna measure right from the front of the grip. All right. I mean you can measure it from anywhere. We just want to be consistent, right? So I'm gonna measure right from the front of the grip, because all these grips are about the same. From the front of the grip. And now we want this number to be as small as possible. So I've got 5 inches on this one. I've got 6 inches on this one with the quad rail. And I'll same deal here from the front of the grip to the charging handle, right? Because that's where it's 6.5 inches. So that's where the biggest difference is here, because it's the space from here, from the front of a charging handle to the balance point, all right, just because the receiver is just longer, right? This is where I think that you know, when you pick this up and you say, hey, this feels a little bit more front heavy, this is where I think the biggest difference is, what counts. The fact that this receiver is a little bit longer. Now, the interesting thing is that if you look at the AK design, there's ways that this can obviously, this balance can be brought back a little bit. And I've said this before in prior videos, this rear sight here is outdated. Okay, it just doesn't. This should be a Picatinny rail over here. Okay, this can move back over here. That's going to go a long way to, you know, actually it'll help. I'm not going to say a long way, but it'll help bringing the balance back. Okay, because once you bring this further back, right, you know, then we can consider, you know, maybe lightening up this rail. You know, that might be a possibility. Maybe this piece over here doesn't have to be, you know, because right now this top rail is what's holding this this top rail is what's holding the optic in place. Well, the way this system works is the bottom rail is clamped onto the barrel, and the top rail is clamped onto the bottom rail. So that clamping system in there is I would say at least 4 or 5 ounces. I mean, it's about as heavy as the optic itself. So if you put a Picatinny rail here, where you can mount the optic back here, then that whole system up there can change. You no longer need that clamp on the barrel all the way up there. So I think that will sort of bring the balance of the AK-47 right in line with the balance of an AR-15. Okay, so those are my thoughts on that. And we're talking about a really simple, small modification. You know, we're not talking about changing the receiver or the internal workings of the AK-47. We're not talking about redesigning the gun. All we're talking about here is making this, getting rid of this rear sight, making that a Picatinny rail, right? Because this is the front trunnion. That's where the barrel attaches to. This is a very stable platform for mounting an optic. You can bring the optic back here. That's going to get rid of, you know, obviously that's going to move the weight of the optic back, but it's also going to get rid of the clamp that holds the rail onto the barrel, because it's a pretty big clamp that holds it on. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I thought I decided to look into this today. I thought it was very interesting, and I wanted to share it with you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you're not a member of the channel, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys soon.